So, in case you don't know me, I'm George. I'm a Microsoft MVP and organizer of Munich.net. See here, I removed the meetup. I don't know if I like it, but anyway, I removed it. I work at Slalom as cloud DevOps and security. Although my background was many years software engineering, I decided to make a different step this time and actually try to go towards the cloud architecture only. I can say that I miss software engineering a bit, but it's also very, very interesting. Now, these are 4 links that you can find me, but you can also, since I've learned that my surname is not a very easy surname to remember or type, I created this QR code and even more, this bigger one, if you want to reach out somehow. For example, you want your name or your video to be removed from the recording in case you disagree. Use this, find me, and I will do it. So, before we start, I'm working currently at Slalom. I don't know, most of you will not know what Slalom is, of course, as I didn't know. I'm working at Slalom Germany because Slalom has 14,000 employees around the world. It's not a small thing. It's a big thing. It has offices in US, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, wherever you can imagine, UK, of course, wherever you can imagine. It has completed already tens of thousands of projects around the world, right? And to be honest, most of them are whatever, Microsoft Cloud, AWS Cloud, or Google Cloud. Some of them are Salesforce, but it's all of them together. I think they are maybe even more than 50,000. I have no idea. It's currently present in 43 markets. Germany is the 44th, and I don't know if that is wrong, and I should have like Munich is the 44th, because after Munich, it's Hamburg, Frankfurt, Berlin, of course, and then Amsterdam just started. France is starting, will start. It's a proper EU invasion, right? The good thing about Slalom, the thing that I like is that they are only getting selected big customers. You're not getting anything just to get some money. It has to follow some specific standards, this customer. So we have to be able to apply agile indeed. We have to be able to choose the correct technologies to serve him. With Microsoft, we are doing things together. It's not only Microsoft, it's not a Microsoft company. We also do things with AWS, with Google, with everyone around. We are doing a lot of things with Microsoft though, and I'm mostly on that part, of course you understand. And we are using best of breed to do our stuff. So we are not trying to deliver something quickly to the customer. We're trying, and this is the agreement, this is why we're only selecting a few big customers. We're trying to add value to what we deliver, something that will live forever after us, and it will give value to the customer. So it's actually a very nice environment to work for someone that is interested in doing new stuff all the time, new technologies, right? Why I'm saying that? Because it's everyone. We are looking for people. Actually, I was lucky one to be the first employee here, and now we're around 50, I think. The first plan is to reach around 150, because then we will be at the capacity to start serving big customers, right? Because most of the projects, BP, for example, it's 80 to 90 people. We don't have the people yet to serve that. Anyway, that's the plan. We are at 50. We're going to soon reach 150. If anyone wants to join, just use that thing again. And yeah, let's work together. So, interesting stuff. This is one we're going to do today. This is, again, me there, but I totally didn't have time to create a slide just for that. So I got the meetup feature image that I had. We're going to create a sample here today. I think if you are part of other meetups, you would know that I don't like code slides too much, and I'm jumping directly into samples, and I think most of us, at least from what I talked to, enjoy that thing. But we'll create a function app, a .NET function that will be deployed in an Azure function. The app function will be written in .NET 6, and actually .NET 6 isolated. We'll see later what's that different. And the infrastructure will have our Azure function, the storage that goes with the Azure function, CosmosDB, and Azure KeyVault. Sorry, someone's knocking the door. I don't know why I need to manually admit everyone, but anyway. The good thing is, anyway, I was talking that we will have a KeyVault and an app inside because this is best practice. You will see how you use them. But the most important is that we will connect the Azure function with CosmosDB with RBAC instead of creating it with a key, right? Why this is better? First of all, when you have a key, you have to rotate it every once in a while because keys, you're sending keys all around. You're sending to colleagues, you're sending to the developers, and that is a security risk. By using RBAC, it means that nothing has to change, nothing has to travel outside your protected environment. Everything stays in there. Yeah, you don't have to rotate anything. RBAC means role-based access control, right? So I will talk about that in a minute. Now, let's go next slide. What's the plan for today? First of all, we'll check the architectural diagram. So all the stuff that I said before, how they connect, it's relatively easy and simple, nothing special there, but it's a nice step for understanding what we're gonna do. Let me give that here, perfect. Second thing, you're gonna use a portal first, the Azure portal, to create an Azure function in the Cosmos. See how those connect with a key. Then we're going to use infrastructure as code. So we're going to use bicep to create the entire architecture, the one that we will see first step. Now, depending on the time, I will try to speed up because this is a very big presentation, and I would like to go from all the steps and at least dive later in whatever you find more interesting. We'll then create an Azure function using Visual Studio. We create C#, the code, everything that we need to have the first call, and then have some more complicated calls, meaning try to connect with CosmosDB and retrieve something. Yeah, and at the end we will deploy that Azure function. We will deploy the .NET function to the Azure function. This is wrong here. Using GitHub Actions. So that's it. That's it. What we're gonna do, and this is what we will try to create. What we will create, we will not just try it. See, here is in the middle, of course, the interesting one is the Azure function, which will be a .NET function in .NET 6 isolated mode. The Azure Storage that comes with, I didn't want to click, that comes with it. Application Insights, both of those will send and RBAC, I don't know, then CosmosDB, I don't know, I should have an arrow here. Right? Both of them will send their data to the application Insights. The Azure KeyVault to store the key the Azure function needs to access the Azure storage. We'll talk about why we can have full RBAC here, and we do need the key. And then we'll create CosmosDB, and we'll use RBAC, role-based access control, from the Azure function to connect to the CosmosDB. For the software engineer, that is ridiculously easy. You will see that you need to do minimal changes. So that's enough for the slides. Let's see some real stuff now. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot out. We are not that many, so raise your hand. I will try to see that. Since I'm alone, I can't guard it. Just Dennis.
Hi, yes, a question about the resource group. Are you going to deploy everything into one resource group?
I was thinking, yeah. I mean, the focus of this event now is the connection between Azure Function App and CosmosDB. So one resource group will serve everything very well. Nevertheless, depending on the situation, on the actual problem, and on the structure of the team, you might need to split that into more resource groups. But yeah, for now, we'll deploy everything to one. Yeah. So, shall I move forward? No more questions, I guess, right?
Sorry, maybe last question again from me.
Yeah, of course.
Would this workflow be similar to a workflow with a Python function?
Yeah. The way you are deploying something, of course, that will be a .NET function, but the way you're deploying something is completely abstract, right? You can deploy anything you want. Of course, the moment you create the function, you need to say, you know what, I will run this payload here. I will run, let me admit, Sasa. I will run .NET 6 isolated. I will run .NET 7, Python, whatever. So this just doesn't change too much. It will be the same thing. So sorry that I left you here without something to see. You're seeing my screen, right? Sharing everything correctly.
Yeah.
So perfect, thanks. So first step, let's just try to create a function up. This is, didn't I delete that? I didn't. This was a run I made earlier before the event just to see that everything works correctly. And I can start deleting it, to be honest. Delete resource group and test 3. You're seeing a preview of what will be deployed, but anyway. So let's create a function up. First of all, manual. We have one, sure, whatever. Let's create another one. We need to choose a resource group. Let's create a resource group test. We need to choose if we will publish code directly or we publish a container. For us, it will be code. Of course, let's try to find a name. That's not always easy, but I can do that. Runtime, this is what we were talking earlier, Dennis. We will choose .NET, but you can choose whatever you want, and this is the place to choose. So if you can change the runtime after that, you need to choose it right now. So for us, it's .NET 6, and yeah, whatever. For this, and let's choose US Central. Of course, we are in EU, and usually you want to keep the data of EU citizens within EU. So let's choose North Europe. Operating system Windows. It's a bit slower when it's coming out of when it's waking up, let's say, but you will find out now. For this example, it doesn't make any sense to choose any of them. It's the same, but you will find out that at some point that Linux containers lack the love, let's say, the Windows containers have, and it's a bit more complicated and different. I'm usually using Windows container. Consumption, just because I don't want to pay anything, right? And we'll pay for whatever we will create. This is the we will use. This is the storage account that we'll be using with the function app. They go pair to pair. Each function app requires a storage because it will save the runtime, the whatever configuration the function app needs. It will save it in storage. Let's forget all of that and go directly to the review and create. There is, of course, a number. You can inject your function app in a VNet and then have a better security. I'm doing that right now. So deployment started. It will create automatically the resource group. I think it was test, and it will automatically, and it will deploy in that resource group, not that one. Let's go here. It will deploy in that resource group the two things we chose: the function app and the storage of the function app. I literally can't remember now if by default it will deploy app insights. Let's see, that will be a surprise. I don't remember if I choose that. This is the service plan, so each function is it runs on a service plan. It's a nice idea if you have a lot of functions. You can spare some euros if you're using the service plan, the same service plan under some cases, of course, not always. This is the application Insight, so I actually selected that. I didn't even notice. The storage. So you see the order of events, what the order that stuff happens. And right now it's not very important because Azure does it on its own. But when you're writing your infrastructure as code, you need to write it in the specific order. For example, you can't just deploy your function first, right? You have to deploy your function after you create the storage, because the function needs to use the storage, and you cannot configure up. You can, but anyway, it's better if you deploy your application insights and your service plan, and then deploy the function that depends on those things. So the order is very important. Here is our function app. We go here. This is care about mostly the configuration. This is what we might want to take a look. So Azure Web Storage, it's one place that you see. It has the account key, clear text. So you can easily, a software engineer that has access can just copy that. Anyone can copy that. And if you have that, then you have access from all around the world to that storage. You can do anything. Same here. It's the same thing, those two. Why? So this property, first of all, don't ask me why. I'm not sure, but this property is mandatory when you're running Azure functions outside a dedicated plan. So for us, that is consumption, we don't just need that, we also need that, which adds a complication. For the Azure Web Job Storage setting, there is in preview the, let me find it, I have it somewhere. There is in preview, now you go away, let me find it. I think app settings reference. So let me actually bring that, we can do it together. Create a system from getting started, guidance and development. Was it here? I don't even remember. Yeah, here. So you see, this is in preview. You can connect to your storage by using RBAC, but this only applies to the dedicated plan. By using these conventions with the 2 underscores and then the name of the URL. Unfortunately, since we have to have this thing here, this setting here, it makes no sense to create an RBAC connection between your function app, the function app, and the storage, because you can get rid of that, but you will never be able to get rid of this here. So same thing. So let's see now. This is the function app, and this is how more or less things are done. If we go to the environment here, the general settings are here. Do we need anything? The WebSockets are off by default. Blah blah blah. All good. Do you have any questions here right now? So this is one that we need to change to isolate. But doesn't matter. We will deploy it with infrastructure as code later. So this is how more or less how you deploy a function. And if you go to your resource group, to the storage, you will see that you have a couple of containers. That's the jobs, the web jobs. You can have a function running on a trigger every now and then, and you can have, and you have the secrets of your web job. So the function app actually uses the storage to store whatever informations. And here you can see the actual stuff that you are uploading. It's empty now. We haven't uploaded anything, but yeah. Let's move on now to the function app. Let's try, let's deploy a CosmosDB to see how things are done. Is that not yet deleted? Oh my God. Let's go to our test group, create here, Cosmos, Azure CosmosDB. This one, create. Come on. So we have quite a few choices. I don't know, did I miss something here? They are changing stuff all the time, but we will use this one. Let's just use this one. Provision output serverless. That means that we are paying again based on the demand, right? We are don't want to pay anything more. The name should be tested again. Very random name. That's it. West, sure, review and create. I jumped over those other tabs very quick because it's CosmosDB, it's a global service, right? You can distribute it all around the world, but this costs money. And all these steps on how you distribute where your database and containers will be was right there. Maybe it was at some point doing a CosmosDB meetup and deep dive into it because there are so many stuff. Definitely not easy to also do that now. We are 40 minutes in the meetup. Are we? I know. This is when I started the meeting. So up until this thing deploys and we can see something, let's move to the next. Oops, let's move to the next step. Everything that we're doing here is not new, of course, as you expected. I have done it before. This is the repo that contains that, right? That's our design. So let's download a repo. Do I have it already here? Cool. It's here. And let me just pull everything really quick. I don't remember if I made any changes. Perfect. So we can see now up the structure, right? What I'm using. Ignore the docs. This is, I think, just for the image. I have two folders, the app folder and the infrastructure. In the infrastructure, I have the infrastructure as code, as expected. And in the app that connects to CosmosDB and does what it needs to do. Let's first play with the infrastructure folder, open with code, and start visiting a few stuff. So the way, I mean, it's purely flavored, but the way I'm doing things, it's usually I have a main bicep that concentrates all of the modules and builds the Azure deployed JSON. And then I have the modules in here, which can be also used in other projects, right? So it's a nice approach because you have a knowledge base, you're building your modules, and at some point you have enough whenever you want to build something. For example, whenever you want to deploy an Azure Function app with the CosmosDB, you just get that done. I don't want to play it right now. So let's go and see what's happening. First of all, all the parameters here are parameters that the user that will be using this template will be asked to complete, right? So I have them. This is the list of allowed values for the SKU for the plan of the analytics workspace. This is the default and zipper one. This is what you need to do. This is for the storage account. We're talking about its Azure function having a storage, and its storage is actually, let me allow, and its storage has, of course, a plan, right? This is a local redundancy. I think we might, it's very useful. I will try to very quickly guide you through redundancy. Do I have, yeah, I have that here. Let's move down here. So redundancy, right? This is local redundancy. So within the same data center, Azure data center, you have multiple copies of your database or of your files. This, on the other hand, is zone redundancy, the ZRS. So you have maybe both, maybe you can have local redundancy too, but in that scenario anyway, you have multiple availability zones within the same region. So if an availability zone goes down, then the other will be up. You have saved data. And then there is, let's name it region availability or geo-replication, where you choose a primary region and then you have a secondary region, but these regions are paired. There is a guide from Microsoft which regions are paired, and there is a guarantee by Microsoft that only one region will be down each time. So, for example, if you choose US East and US West, these are pair regions, and only one of them will go down for updates. The other one will be always up. I think same. It's Germany West and Germany South, North. I don't remember right now. So whenever you want to have geo redundancy, you will check which regions are paired by Microsoft, and you choose one for your primary and then a second one for your secondary. Here now, since we don't want to pay too much, we choose local redundancy. This is the smallest level. We can't go anywhere lower than that. We cannot have a mode with no redundancy at all. Let's move forward. This is the service plan of the function app. The service plan is why that means dynamic. This is the free. We can't do much with the free, but you can play around and it's completely free. But this is the dynamic. This is the consumption plan. You are paying as much as you are consuming. Now, all these stuff, don't ask me to know them by heart, but it's premium 1, premium 2, premium 3, dedicated. There is only one. You actually have a VM all for you. Different price sets, different capabilities. As your function of grows, your user base grows, then you need to invest more, right? But for us, this is perfect because we'll have almost zero consumption and that's almost zero cost. Dennis.
Yeah, a quick question. Is there also a cost to the container type? For example, is Linux cheaper than Windows, or is it just a service plan?
No, it's not cheaper. It's the same thing. I don't know, to be honest. Now that if you go up to dedicated plans, then you're actually having a VM under it, right? So there you might have to pay for the license of Windows, but as cost, nothing changes. So the KeyVault standard and premium, depending on how many queries you will have per minute and stuff, you just stay with standard, of course, which is cheaper, almost it's zero. These names here, to be honest, I should have like prefix with CosmosDB. There are consistency levels in CosmosDB. Most of you as engineers, as developers, you will be very familiar with eventual consistency, right? And consistent consistency. But there are another 3. It's very interesting to see if our function app is deployed. Let's go here. If CosmosDB is deployed. Let's go here to see the consistency. Come on. Here it is. This is how Microsoft found out this clever way of describing what its consistency level is, right? We're not going to go into deep into CosmosDB right now, but this is a strong consistency. You know it already. Is when you deploy. Now we deployed only one region. Let's assume that we also deployed in Japan somewhere. I don't know. Here, strong consistency is that every time you're doing a write here, then whenever someone reads here, it will read the same thing. And you also get an average replication latency that it will be able to read the same thing in 105 milliseconds. Actually, it will not be able to read it in 105 milliseconds. It will be able to read it whenever this finishes, because the moment you are writing something here, and that very moment is replicated to the other side of the world, and you have to wait for your insert or update an additional 105 milliseconds. The eventual consistency is what we are talking earlier. We are very familiar from the code. It's, but you know what? Eventually, stuff will be ready when all update is finished. And some point, 140 milliseconds later, to be precise, all the databases you choose, all the deployments you choose around the world will be consistent. Now, I'm not going to get into each and every one. This is the cheapest model, let's say, and it's a more familiar that we might have. It means that so it has a consistency guarantees. So you can deploy your application. You can write your data to your favorite location. I think we deployed here when this circle is. But the regions that they are closer, let's say, to the US, that belong to the same region, to the same geographical area, will have a consistency, and the regions that are outside the geographical area will follow a pattern like eventual consistency. Now, I'm not gonna get too much into that because it's very complicated, and even though there is this very nice pattern here, I think you need to spend quite some time in order to understand each and every consistency level. But as I said, CosmosDB session would be perfect for that. So where were we here? This is the consistency level. As I said, it's choose session for that. And these are the database names. So of course, in CosmosDB, if a database is not there and with the proper configuration, the moment you are calling, you are doing a select from a database and the container, that very moment, you will also create the database and the container if nothing is there. One small parenthesis here, we have a database. Let me bring back the Azure function here. It's nice to understand it. So we have a database, we have containers within the database, and then we have items, right? This is the levels. Now we don't have any databases. Unfortunately, we didn't create anything here in that test CosmosDB. But yeah, welcome me. But yeah, we will create them automatically with infrastructure as code here. Sometimes you might want to create them with your infrastructure. Sometimes you want to leave that to the software engineers to create them. It's different depending on the situation. So once we are selecting, we're gathering all the informations necessary, then we start call our modules here to create each and every resource, right? We need to create an analytics workspace, and based on that, we create an application insights. Then we are creating the CosmosDB. The order is very important. And you can see that, do I have that? Yeah, you have it here. Then we are creating a KeyVault, and then we are creating a storage. Why? Because the web storage needs to save the keys in the KeyVault here. So there is a dependency. So we are not allowed, these three things, since there is no dependency, can go in parallel. So when you try to deploy the infrastructure, all these three resources will start deploying at the same time. But same this one, 4 resources, sorry. But when you reach that one, the web app storage will wait first for the KeyVault to be deployed because there is a dependency here, you see. Dennis, yeah? Sorry,
yeah, a small remark about dependencies. I think if you're using a parameters keyvault.outputs.keyvault name, it will actually make this dependency implicitly. So you technically don't need the depends on, I think, right?
Yeah, but for some of them, let's try and build that. You are absolutely right. Some of them imply the dependency. For example, here, let's admit kinda. The KeyVault waits for the analytics workspace to be deployed, and there is the dependency is implied as you said. I'm not sure why I have that here. Maybe it's not implied. Let's see. Now, this is how you build it, right? AZ bicep build. What do I want to build? The file main.bicep. Yeah, I'm not upgrading now. That is built without any warning, so I can assume that the reason I have that here is that sometimes the implicit dependencies are just not working. See here, we are not even in version 1. Soon we will be, but right now we won't. So I can assume that unless I have that here, we will not see any mistake here because now it doesn't do a validation. But when you try to deploy this, both of those stuff will be deployed at the same time. I'm not sure. I think this is the reason I have it here. Maybe I'm mistaken, right? Because usually when you have a dependency that it's not needed, for example, let's try to put the dependency here of the analytics workspace. Is that you're not getting a message? It seems you do, but I don't know. That seems much bigger than the expected. The expression is referring its own. Oh, yeah. So let's try here to make a dependency. We have that on KeyVault. We have that too. CosmosDB, do we have that? We have that too. Come on. Up Insights, do we have that? We don't. What if I add that dependency here? Up Insights, give me a second. Let's add that here. So just for the sake of this event, I will not try to change anything right now because I want everything to work. But maybe you are right, and we don't need that. I'm not. Let's try that later. So, as I was saying, I think I was here on the KeyVault. The storage needs the KeyVault. Blah blah blah. The web app, of course, needs the CosmosDB because we need the endpoint. What the endpoint is, we need the web app storage, which said that there is a dependency there, right? And we need those secrets. And we need the KeyVault because we need to save or access the secrets in there. As you can see here, one of the best practices is not to have the secrets clear text in your config, in your Azure function, right? So what's happening, if you remember our diagram here, I think I have it, you will see it very fast. Where are you? Go away. You come up here. Our KeyVault here, actually, we are storing the secret in here, and the Azure function connects to that KeyVault and retrieves the secret. So we can very well give access to our development team, to whoever we want, to the KeyVault, because they will never get access to the storage. They will not be able to see what the secret is. Once we deploy this infrastructure, we are preparing with Bicep, then it will make more sense. At the end, we'll start deploying CosmosDB RBAC, Web App Storage RBAC. Those two are the permissions, let's say, the way we are binding one service with the other to be able, one service to access the other without using a key. Now, let's use this link that I have here to show you. Let's do it the opposite way. Let's deploy that. We didn't make any change, right? We didn't. Let's deploy that. Let's come here and see how we deploy that, and then we'll come to visit the. So in order to deploy, of course, there is a way to deploy directly without creating. Let's go to this thing without creating an Azure deploy JSON, but that, for me at least, the best approach would be to do it with federated credentials, and I don't think it should be part of this event now because it's big topic. But anyway, let's see here how we are deploying an Azure deploy. They changed that. Oh, wow. Anyway, that's a typical GitHub action, right? The events it's actually typical pipeline action. The name of the pipeline, when will it be triggered? This means manually also, but also whenever anything from the infrastructure folder changes, runs on Ubuntu latest, it checks out everything. What it's doing, it's creating or using a VM to download the code, right? So it checks out everything. It builds the infrastructure. Now this is an action. Let me go that since they changed it so much, I enjoy so much seeing changes just before an event, you know. So how can I? This is an Azure. Oh my God. Let's go to actions and let's see now. And let's do a new workflow just for the example and whatever. Highlight bicep. Do I have anything here ready? No, thank you. Automation. Whatever. Let's use that one. So you can see this very friendly way of searching. If I search here bicep, I'm trying to use only tasks that have been approved by Microsoft GitHub, someone well known, right? Now, I'm not saying that these guys over here might did something strange with their pipelines, but it's safer to not depend in anyone else than original stuff. So if I go here, click bicep, not that advanced as Azure DevOps, paste that here, and then they're saying that, you know, the default is main bicep, you can remove that, and the default is Azure deploy, you can remove that. So we can very well have this as an action and build and have our Azure deploy. If you see our action though, yes, I want to lose everything. You'll see that it's a bit different. Why? Because I have everything. I had these two folders. It's one for the infrastructure and one for the application, right? So I had to. This is not mandatory, and now that I see it, but this at least is because I want to instruct this task to go and find the main bicep, where to find the main bicep, and then once we deploy this main bicep, this Azure deploy. Once we build the Azure deploy, we need to push it back to our repo. Don't forget that this entire thing is within a VM, right? It's a VM somewhere, I don't know, a Linux machine, and does that stuff. And then we need to get from that Linux machine back to our repo. So this is what it's doing here. It's deploying back, it's pushing to our repo, it's committing and pushing to our repo this file here. So every time we are changing a file in this folder, we are getting back after some time. This is built 1 hour ago, as you see, an Azure deploy JSON. And what we thought, we check here. Let's see. You can use the Azure deploy badge, the Azure deploy button, and instruct it where the public. Sorry, that's the compile Azure deploy to Azure. Sorry, this one. This is the badge that says if it's compiled successfully or not. You can use the Azure deploy button and instruct where the Azure deploy JSON is in order to have that I don't know, probably easier way to deploy. At the end, we can make a change just to test that. Let's make this change. Whatever. If we go back to the actions, building started already, the compile Azure deploy JSON. At some point it will build it, and we will have a fresh version here, but nothing changed, so I can just click this button. Nah, that's a very annoying. You need to remember to press Control and click because it uses the same tab. That's the first thing screen we see. You see that all the parameters that we were checking, they will not deploy in Germany because I don't think we have CosmosDB availability there. But anyway, you see that all the parameters we have in our main bicep are here. So we can very well create another resource group. Let's name that Munich.net, I don't know, .bet, Munich.net. Let's use, I want to be sure there was an availability problem with Europe, so I will not choose Europe. I tested that before the event. I will choose East US. Let's go to East US. I think we'll never have problem there. East US, that's the database name that will be deployed and not the container. Review. Create. So all of that thing, all of that infrastructure, all of that diagram that we see there, it will start to be deployed one by one, actually not one by one, based on the order of things that we set up with either the implicit or explicit depending reference. And I don't know how much it will take, like 5 minutes or something, just because of the CosmosDB, we will have everything ready. Up until this is deployed, let's go back here and check a bit this thing, the role-based control. Anybody here that is Dennis? Yes?
Is there a way to deploy without building a JSON file first and directly deploy the bicep files?
Yeah. Actually, there is an action that deploys directly the bicep, that deploys what you have in bicep, but what internally does is creating the JSON file, the ARM template, it's compiling it, and then it deploys the ARM template. So at the end, the bicep is like an easy way to write ARM templates. What reads Azure is always the ARM template. Yeah. So you don't need to manually see that happening. Let's come here. What is wrong with you? It is already in use.
You have to purge it first. If you delete it, you have to purge
Did
it
I
as well.
create it again? Yeah, but I don't remember creating. Did I create Munich.net meetup again? Oops, not MVP. Oh my God, I did it again. Oh, sorry for this. I didn't remember at all that I did that. It's the same exactly. Usually avoid it, but anyway, we'll deploy it again. It's okay. This is the good thing with infrastructure as code, right? You're deploying your infrastructure and then you're making a change through the portal that you don't remember it, what you did, just to redeploy your infrastructure and everything is corrected. So along with the KeyVault, everything that depends on the KeyVault will fail. CosmosDB panel doesn't depend. The storage though depends, and though it will not be deployed, right? Function up, everything will not be deployed. Deployment failed. As expected, it stopped where exactly it was the last, where those obviously didn't have a dependency either on set service KeyVault or in any resource that had dependency in the service KeyVault. So let's try that again now that I deleted it. We was that one, right? And we chose East US, blah, blah, blah. this is a cool thing. This is a declarative language. It's actually, you are actually declaring the state of the infrastructure. I want an infrastructure to look like this and this and that. This is what you do. And this is what each time it's trying to do. So what was the question, Dennis, besides the failure?
So my question was, in here, it seems that we have a step in our GitHub workflow that creates the JSON file with the build command, right? Yeah. But technically, my question was, can we avoid this and directly deploy bicep without first generating the JSON ourselves and just let bicep generate it without us even seeing it?
Yeah, so you don't see this deployment, you don't see this the conversion from bicep to JSON, but it's actually happening because even if you see the deployment here, these are the inputs, this is the template. So at the end, this is what it's get deployed. Now, I mean, it's obvious because we hit that, we created into Azure Deploy first, but let me find an example here that it's doing exactly that. Go here. Where are we? Give me a second. So it's we can also see it from here instead of searching. I think if we go again, let's just search that symbols. What is that? Not symbols found. Go line, edit, or edit in place. I wanna see that navigation docs. Oh my God, edit in place. What's that? Anyway, let's go again to an action to it, and then I will search that later. New workflow. So there is definitely a way when you're deployed on the core. Yeah, let's try that one. When you're trying to edit your pipeline, your workflow, you actually get into that screen over here where you have the marketplace and the available actions, because how could you know? In any case, let's move here. This is the deployment of the app. There is nothing here. Let's see. Deploy ARM. Deploy Azure ARM built by Azure. So this one, let's go to the last one. If you copy that, you can also reference the main bicep file, and it will be deployed automatically without you understanding that internally it is again converted into an ARM template, into a JSON, and then deployed. Yeah, so it's definitely a way. It's just that we can't deploy directly right now. What's happening here? Yeah, we have a KeyVault again. And then we have those two. And we are done. So let's see. The deployment is done. Let's go to our resources. This is, I should delete that one. I will do it later. This is our resource, everything included. Let's see now what it's done in the function app. And then we'll see how we did it with bicep. If you go to the configuration that we were before, someday, you will see that where we had that clear text passwords, whatever, we now have KeyVault references. If you see here, you will see that it instructs you, you know what? Get your secret from the KeyVault. That's the KeyVault, and that's the secret that we stored. Same here. Oops, oh my God, sorry. Same for the other setting also. And how does the web app has permissions to access the key vault? This is done with RBAC, with role-based access control. What we are doing is, if you see, this is our function app, right? And if we go now to our key vault, where is the key vault? Here it is, into access control, role assignments. Let's see, we will see that the Munich.NET web app, this is the service principal, has the key vault secrets user access. Nobody else can access the secrets in there, and this can be easily verified by that. You are not authorized to view this content. Even me, that I created that. Of course, since I'm a global administrator, I can override that, and I can go here, and I can go, to the access control and say, you know what, add role assignment, add me key vaults officer, I don't know, to who, which one do I log in? This one, review assignment, blah, blah. Now I have full access, but nobody has. So even if you are allowing the team to access the infrastructure, because you don't want them to have any black box, you want them to develop fast, right? To contribute to their velocity. They will not be able to see the secrets, which is very cool, right? How do we do that with the key vault? So we are deploying a key vault first, and then we are passing the reference of the key vault inside the store. Let's see this. Sorry. We are deploying a key vault, and then we are passing the reference of the key vault inside the storage that we are deploying, and we are using this model, which is generic secret. I use it everywhere. What does it says, you know what? For this key vault that you are passing me, the key vault name, add this secret name with this secret value and return back this URL. So this is what the storage app is doing. Call that generic secret module for this service key vault name, add this secret name with this secret value. And you will see that the keys actually are in there, but they are never going into any logs or anything. They are deployed directly from when you deploy your infrastructure. It's deployed directly internally from Azure, from one service to another. They are never exposed. This is what happens. And then once this happens, you need, of course, to give some permissions to your web app to access the key vault. So let's go in the web app. When we are deploying the web app, you will see here, this is how we are adding the references. One of the parameters, the input parameters of the web app, it's the secrets that have been created in the storage. They are returned. And in here, we are creating where we are creating the web app, we are passing to the configuration of the web app the URIs of the secrets of the key vault, right? But before we actually do that, we are giving the necessary role-based access control to the web app. So this is, Microsoft suggests to play around with the GUIDs. It's relatively easy because if you try to search that, it's GUID, right? It's the only thing that exists in the world. What site is that? So this is the key vault secret user that I'm giving permissions. And if you notice here what I'm doing, I'm saying that, you know what? Call that, where is it? Web app key vault. Call that module and pass the key vault name, the principal ID of the web app. I will show you what that is, and give to that principal ID that role ID. So if we come here, reference to the key vault, just a GUID for a name, and we're saying, you know what? For the key vault that you depend on, that principal ID, which is the web app, service principal, yeah, I need him to have this role. So this whole thing ends up in where is it? Ends up adding this role here in the KeyVault. I am right, and then when the function app tries to access the KeyVault, it has the permissions of a secret user and can see the secrets. Like me, I think I gave to me. I can now see the secrets. This is exactly what the function app sees. Now, of course, if you there are more tricks to do, and this is the last one, I think, before we go. I know we need to see the RBAC of the CosmosDB, and then we go to some C# code. Unless you remove the kudu feature, anybody is familiar with the kudu feature? So here, this is our web app, right? And this is what you can do to access the dashboard, let's say the control panel of your web app. Give it a second. If you go to app settings, you will see that the app settings that we had as a KeyVault reference, just before they are fed to the web app, the real secret from the KeyVault has been pulled and replaced, right? So what your code actually sees is the real secret. Your code will never see the reference to the KeyVault. You will never have, as a software engineer, to actually do something to retrieve the secret. You will get it directly because that's what your application will see. So if you are an administrator that you definitely don't want your developers to see that, the engineers in the project to see that, then you also need to limit the kudu feature. You also need to limit how they can access the dashboard. So last but not least on the infrastructure administrator stuff is this thing here. So as we did between the function app and the KeyVault, and we add in the KeyVault the service reference of the function app with the specific permissions, the same thing we can do for CosmosDB. But there is a very small difference here. So again, in the CosmosDB, we are passing the service, the principal ID, the service principal of the web app, and we are giving it permission. You see that this doesn't look so unique as it looked before, because there is a catch. So CosmosDB is a global service. There is no role that you can give to your web app to access everything in the CosmosDB. On the contrary, what you can do is create your own custom roles. You will create a role that, that web app or that function of the web app can access only that container and that database in read or read-write mode. This is what is described here. Some time ago, I think a couple of years was it? I don't remember right now. Microsoft finally gave us the ability to use these pre-installed built-in roles, the 00 blah 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 1 and the 002, which one is the reader and one is the contributor on that role, on that CosmosDB instance. And what does that mean? That in this specific CosmosDB instance, your instance, when you use that role, you will have a full read on all databases and all containers. And when you're using that role, you will have a full read-write on all containers, on all databases and all containers. Usually, when you're going production, you might want to create your own custom roles. So I want this web app or this team to access only that database or only that container. But this is a nice shorthand, because if you try to keep your teams well separated, you have cross-functional teams, and each cross-functional team more or less handles one resource group, and this resource group will have your function app, your Cosmos DB, whatever that resource group needs. Then you will end up that most probably that team that has access only to that instance of the Cosmos DB doesn't need to have fine-grained permissions. These roles are good enough. So in a similar scenario, if we go to our, where is it? Here. We say, so in a real life scenario, when a customer, when your company wants to create something, you will create multiple sets of that setup here, going to kind of a microservice approach, right? So each function app and each team that will have access only to that specific resource group and that specific repo most probably will be okay to access everything in that specific instance of Cosmos DB. That's why these are now very helpful, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm saying that, you know what, for this specific Cosmos DB instance that I just deployed, give to that web app read-write access, whatever I create there, whatever database, container, everything. That's what it does. If you check the Cosmos DB, where is that? Cosmos DB RBAC, you will see the same as before. We have a role definition ID, more or less. That changes a bit, but anyway, we have the role ID as before, the principal ID of the web app, and the Cosmos DB, the scope that we need to deploy this role. And if we go back to our Azure here, I hope I have it. Yeah, I have it here. This is the previous one that we deployed. Let's go to our new resource group, Cosmos DB. That's not correct. Sorry, we did that. Cosmos DB. We will see here in Data Explorer, yeah, that we have one database deployed already, and we have one human. Ciao, I'm at work. And one humans container, as I said, databases and containers, right? No items in here, nothing. Let's just create one item. I want to see here. We're not going to talk about Cosmos DB, but each container needs a partition key, right? The partition key is what is used to deploy stuff around the world. So you might want to say that everything under the partition location, when its location is Germany, deploy that to Cosmos DB Germany. When the location is Japan, deploy that to location Japan. This speeds up how you are doing the replication, and of course it's much cheaper, and of course it speeds up how your customers are actually access your solution. So let's create a, I just want to remember again, it was location. Yeah, let's randomly create one item. This ID is what, I don't know, and it has name George and location Germany. Let's see if it's working. I also need to have some commas here. You know, just to be correct, I knew, let's go here and write GUID, read GUID, generate the clipboard, and let's come here and put that here. Now we are super okay. And we can, you see the additional properties, and let's create another one. This was that, let's copy it, new item. Didn't I copy? Okay. New item. Remove all those stuff. And let's say Yoda, I don't know, Italy. No mistake. Now we have two entries here, one for Germany and one for Italy. This we could deploy them into different countries, but we are not doing that right now. So let's move. Now we have our setup, more or less. We have our Azure function and we have our CosmosDB, and we have everything that we need, some entries here to go and play around with code, right? How do we create a function app? Let's start Visual Studio. There are two ways. One way is to do it with the function app with the core tools. Let me show you first, because we are not going to do that. I'm gonna hurry up a bit. It is that one. So you need to install the Azure Function core tools, the .NET 6 SDK, and then just run that, and you are done. It creates a folder with that name and everything necessary in there. You're getting into that folder, and then in that folder, you are creating a new HTTP trigger. We'll see all of that now, but just to give an idea that this is possible also outside Visual Studio. Nowadays, many people use Visual Studio Code, and if you use that and you want to run a function or deploy a function, then you do it with the Azure CLI. So create a new project, just searching here Azure Function, done. Let's give a name of Munich.NET. And you know what the funny thing is? I will have another one. Let me check, because I was testing if everything works correctly. Do I have another one function here? I knew it. Let's Munich.NET, blah blah blah. Next. That's a very crucial moment. We want to use .NET 6 isolated. Why? So that's the new thing, right? From .NET 7, it will be the only solution. You could only select .NET isolated. I will spend just a few minutes where I have it here to tell you about a few. Let me see, is it here? Yeah, so before .NET isolated, we had only in-proc. What does that mean? I'm running in-proc. So it means that your code, your .NET function, runs in a tightly integrated mode with your Azure function. You're writing a code and you are deploying your code actually as a class library that is loaded in the Azure function, and then that brings some results back, right? Let me check. I don't, if there is any hand, no. That brings back your result, right? This is cool, and there is actually a very nice benefit because you can serve binding APIs and types, but there is a drawback also. Since this kind of integration requires a tight coupling between the .NET function and their Azure function, it means that both of them need to run under the same .NET version. And why do you care about that? So the only reason that we as engineers would care about that is that once there is a new .NET out there, we can use it up until the Azure function supported. What does that mean? The Azure function runtime is able to run efficiently in the new version of .NET. So there were some delays there. That's the only thing. In reality, the one that cares more about this change is Microsoft. Why? Because for everything you have in mind and you want to run in .NET 3.1, you want to run in .NET 6, 7, blah, 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 whatever, Microsoft has to have a different function app runtime to go with you and actually run your code in the selected runtime, in the selected version. Now this is over. What is happening right now, it's the out-of-proc, the .NET isolated. The Azure function runs in a runtime, one runtime, whatever they choose, whatever Microsoft choose, you never know about that. And your code, your function, your .NET function will run wherever you choose. This is the difference. What comes with it? First of all, writing code for an in-proc Azure function is massively different than from an out-of-proc Azure function. In out-of-proc, it resembles more a classic ASP.NET app, which we have our IOC container, we can inject our services, everything that you know as a developer by writing ASP.NET, MVC, ASP.NET APIs, web APIs, same thing. Huge benefit because you can easily jump from writing ASP.NET MVC to write your code, right? Write a function app. Nevertheless, that's the whole deal. I'm selecting isolated from now on because it's the only way from .NET 7 and later. These are the possible triggers that we can use for an Azure function. An HTTP trigger, and that it's an HTTP call. You call that Azure function, returns back your the whatever result you have. But you can also have, as you can see, forget the empty one, you can have a CosmosDB trigger. What does that do? When an entry happens in your CosmosDB in a specific container, I want that Azure function to wake up and do something. Same is for a queue trigger. Your storage that comes with every Azure function contains a queue. That queue, whenever something gets into that queue from another service, or I don't know, I want my function to get triggered. All of that stuff is actually different ways of running your code. Time triggered, nice for nightly jobs, whatever you want to do, maintenance, anything, right? So for us, it's an HTTP trigger. We don't enable Joker. Create. The authentication, I should put that anonymous. I will change that later. I will explain to you what that means. So that means that in order to call your function, we see that in the runtime, in the environment, you need to have a key. If you have it as anonymous, of course, you don't need anything. If you have it as a function, you need the function key. As a system, you need the system key, blah, 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 so forth. We use anonymous because we don't want any key. Just click run. Once this is the enterprise edition of the studio, but you can just download the community one. We get this screen that says, you know what, your function, what Azure function, my function do, writes that C# trigger function processed. This is the log, and this is the message that we're getting. Your function is ready to run under this URL. I copy that. I open a browser. Where is that? Sorry. Copy browser. Just here. And it's done. Welcome to Azure Functions. And you know what I will do? I will do that. Welcome to munich.net.bet. Now, that's done. We can run it locally. Works perfectly. How we deploy it? One way, just right-click, and we want to go to publish. Right-click. We want to go to publish. Do you see the publish anywhere? Why can't I see it now? Where did the publish went? Publish. Wait a minute. My PC is doing something. I don't know what it's doing right now. Studio is doing something that I can see. Come on, I don't need this. Studio is not working anymore. There is a window that I can see. Oh my God. Wait, I will destroy my studio and then recreate it because I don't know what happened now. Microsoft Visual Studio and task. Okay, studio died. Let's do that again. Did we save at least? I hope. Opening up, and I will bring it to your screen. Yep, let me bring it here. So this is where we should be before the studio stops working. Where do we want to deploy? We deploy to a Docker container registry, blah, 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 to a folder. We want to deploy it to Azure. Now, we want to deploy it to an Azure Function app, Windows. This is much easier for me because I already connected my Microsoft MVP subscription with the studio, and it knows it. You will just have an additional window here to do the thing to connect with Azure. Nevertheless, it sees here already a couple of functions. One is the one we created, and the other is the test we ran earlier. Let's deploy to this one, and it's done. This is one way to deploy something really fast, nothing fancy. Of course, no automation or nothing. We are getting it's actually pulls down the publishment profile. I will show you up until it deploys what it does. Let's see here. Azure, where is that? Web app. Publishing profile. It's getting this. Let's save it. We'll need it for later. And you will see a password now, but I will delete, so don't try to deploy anything. That thing, why is it? Wait, there is a Microsoft Teams. Yeah, now it's gone. Okay. It's downloading this. Where is it? This publishing settings. And yeah, if you see the publishing settings, it's actually that thing, right? All the necessary, it's just an XML with all the necessary keys and everything. And this is what you actually see here. I hit publish. It published, open site. Let's open it up. The URL, this is our function app running. The URL, I think it was function 1, something like that. Yes, welcome to Munich.NET meetup. So it's deployed, everything cool. Now, if we go now to see a bit more complicated, just a bit more complicated example, we don't have time to go through the entire process of creating it manually. This is what's published in that GitHub. Let's go finally to the app folder. Let's open up that. Bring it once it's open to this window. So what do we have here? First of all, again, .NET 6 isolated. You have all the goodies here that you can configure your services. You can configure your host builder. You can configure everything as you knew from the ASP.NET app. We have everything needed here. And additionally, we set up 3 HTTP triggers. One, let's name them health HTTP triggers. One of them is doing just a daytime now. So you know every time you're refreshing that you're seeing a fresh content. That's a ping. Let's name it ping. And another one is a health HTTP trigger. When you're calling it, it's trying to connect to CosmosDB service and see if the service is healthy. Now, how do we do that? As I said before, it's amazingly simple for a software engineer to do that thing. The way you do that, it's, let me go to the services. This is how you connect to Cosmos client, to the CosmosDB, if you have a CosmosDB key, if you have your key. And this is how you connect if you want to use RBAC. So in essence, the only thing that you're changing from your code is that, and it's done, right? Now you would say, why do I have both here? So there is no emulator to set up locally in your PC. You can't set up CosmosDB emulator. There is, but sorry, there is a way to set up CosmosDB emulator locally, but you cannot set up RBAC as you will set it up in Azure. So what you are doing actually, you need a local installation, either of that's not local, that's in Azure. But if you had it locally, you want an endpoint and the CosmosDB key. This is not a valid key anyway, so I don't mind seeing it public, right? So when that thing runs locally, when your application runs locally, you see here, you would the .NET will find your local settings. It will see that there is a CosmosDB key, and then it will run it will create an instance of the CosmosDB client with a key, or else it will create it without a key. This is what it's doing here. If you have a key, then create a client instance with a key. If you don't, just do that, right? So this is the health and the human's HTTP trigger. What does that do? It actually uses the human service, which accepts the CosmosDB service, connects to that specific container, the life on earth container and humans container. Just let me see, is that the same container that we created in Azure? Just want to see here, but refresh. Because I think they were different, weren't they? There is a life on earth database, the humans container. What did I have in the code? A life on earth, but so it's correct. Okay, confused too late probably. So it connects to that specific container that exists in the life on earth database, and what it does is that it's trying to bring everything based on the location that you are passing from the string, right? So from the URL parameter. So you are querying, give me everything from Germany, and what was the other country? Italy, I don't remember now. We'll see. That's what we are able to do with our code, with a function, with the .NET function. Let's say it's very, very easy. Nothing very fancy. Every service that you're seeing here is injected in the IOC container. I have this dependency injection. It's usually a habit I have. For this additional assembly, what you are doing, you create a dependency injection file with these static methods here, and then these static methods are doing whatever injection they need to do, and then from your program CS, you are actually calling the dependency injection that this assembly here requires, right? Everything else is then up to you to write your code to retrieve what you want from the database. What that thing is doing here is getting, assuming there were too many, they are getting everything from the database in a specific location, from CosmosDB in a specific location, based on the partition key. If you had thousands of results, you would need, of course, some paging solution. For now, we're not doing anything like that. We are getting everything out directly. I also have a link here on how to actually do paging, since I saw here. So you will have, if you try to, if you get that code, you will have everything necessary to write the proper solution. And let's try now, as the last part, to deploy that. One way, as we've seen already, is to deploy it from the publish thing here, from the publish key here. Not going to do that now. We're going to do the very last thing of today's meetup, and then hopefully the very last thing will work. Where am I? Where's GitHub? Here. Let's close all these windows and let's go to GitHub. So the code is already here. I don't think we made any changes. Let's go to Actions again, and thank you, GitHub, for all the nice changes you for today. Let's go here. Sorry. Build and deploy web app. So what we are doing here, we are requesting here the web app name. Of course, we need to know where to deploy. We are checking out the code. As before, we are setting up .NET. This is the version of .NET we want to set. We are building the function up, publishing everything that we need to do. Right here, of course, we are missing some tests, but I don't know. I had to how big this event would be if I also had to talk about the tests. But we are publishing, and then we are uploading the artifacts. What we publish, what the published outcome is, to GitHub. Next step, the deployment step. This was, unless I'm wrong, yeah, the build step. Next step, the deployment part. We are downloading the artifacts, whatever was built here, and we just deploy it. How do we do that? This means everything that you will find, that specific folder, everything that you will find from the artifacts. You use this publishing profile and this Azure Web App name. Now, for production use, there are easier ways to do that. You don't need this manual stuff here and there. And of course, you would use federated credentials. You wouldn't use the published profile. But for now, we can just do that. If you remember, the published file is exactly what the Visual Studio was downloading to be able to access the Azure function. So we go here again, Munich.NET Meetup, Azure Function. Where is that? I think I'm tired. We're getting the profile, save it, desktop. We already have it here, but that's okay. Overwrite it. And then let's find it. Was it, I think, this screen that I'm sharing? Was it? Yeah. Get the body, whatever is in here, and come. Where is my GitHub? No, this is not the GitHub. Come on. I opened so many windows. Let me close a few because I will be completely lost. And here was, yeah. So as we said that it reads the published profile from secrets, we go back here, settings, secrets. I have it already, but it's from another deployment. I paste the secret here, update, and then we are done. The only thing that we need to do is deploy the while deploying is write the name of the web app. The name of the web app. Very happy that I closed everything. Is Munich.NET web app. This one. Here, as I said, for production, you wouldn't have these manual steps. Doesn't make any sense. You would have federated the credentials, and the name of the web app would be pulled automatically from the previous deployment. So you first deploy the infrastructure. The infrastructure has an output. Part of that output would be the web app name. And then when it's time to deploy the application, you are retrieving the state, the previous state of the infrastructure deployment. The state is that contains that output with the web app name, and then you would use that as a parameter to deploy stuff automatically and not have it as a hard-coded stuff type I had there. So, yeah, things would be massively easier. I hope it will not take too long. Sometimes it takes time to log into Azure. Sometimes it's just like seconds. Let's see now. We're downloading the artifacts. Not yet. I didn't expect that it's that big, but anyway. What? Set out command is depreciated, will be disabled soon. Please upgrade your like yesterday. They did all these updates yesterday. Anyway, deployment complete. Let's see our actions here. We also have a link for our web app. Sometimes it takes time because we just deployed it. It needs to rebuild everything. But let's see, we have our function up here. If we run, I just want to see, this is what we have. For example, API health and API ping. This one. And we run our function here. Come on. /health. I don't like it take time. It takes time. I think everything will work. That's very minute. At least does ping works. Since you're waiting, you can read some news here. Let's go visit the web app. I don't like what's happening. So this is a problem of the isolated. You will not see anything here, but I want to see if the function app is up and running. Thank you for so much for that. But if that doesn't work, I'm not planning to debug it now. You will have to just trust me, you know. Let's see now. I can also see logs from here, though. What's happening suddenly? What? Function 1. These are the previous calls. These calls don't even get through right now, but I have no idea why. And to be honest, this is one thing I can think of is since we deployed another. Let's try since we deployed another. Was it isolate? I hope it was a .NET isolate because then we need to recreate everything. But let's stop the service. Start the service again. Then let's do that. This is the ping. And was it? Check here. Anonymous. That one. Ah, that's fine. This one. You know what happened now? It's a different function app name that I'm trying to deploy, I think. And these are anonymous. Okay. I will try to deploy it from Studio. And I will get, it will be luckier. Let's see. publish. Okay. I'm sorry, did I deploy the function app from Studio also? Then I might have messed up. Let's delete and do everything again. Let's try here. Sorry, refresh. I'm convinced that everything is correct, to be honest. I don't know why it is not going away now. There is unavailable. Thank you so much. There is unavailable. I don't think that's me did something, to be honest. The site is stopped. Of course. The web is stopped. Now start. Start. Might say use URL and not the browser, but it's okay. Let's also check deployment files. But it's everything is so slow. I don't get it. What? Everything seems okay. And yeah, let's try again because it's honestly. And the fun thing is that I tried that just before the event. Let's see look here at least.
Yeah, I think it's good. And it wasn't showing, and I said, I think that what was really evident is we keep hearing IP.
I don't know.
Not sure.
I think I will find it just after. Did I change that manually? So strange. If I change that manually, then this is the reason why it's not able to start .NET 6 isolated. Yeah. Isn't that correct? So strange. Let's also check what I'm deploying here. Web app, isn't that .NET isolated? So .NET isolated. So it fails to start .NET 6 isolated, but I don't know the reason right now. One thing that I could try is redeploy everything just in case I change some kind of settings. Let's try. I don't think so. Let's try. Unfortunately, we have to wait quite a few minutes for the deployment to correct whatever I changed that I don't remember now. Is that .NET isolated? Well, let's try to deploy to that one that I manually created. Right, this is .NET. That's so strange. And this is .NET isolated, I guess. Yeah.
And it's
Failed to start a new language worker for runtime.NET. Is there an error? .NET isolated. There is no error. Web storage. After that, we'll deploy web app to see if that corrects anything. And after that, we will just not do it today. I don't know what else to do. I'm pretty sure though that exactly after the meetup ends, everything I will remember what problem is, or I will find it, or everything will just work.
Yeah, Stack Overflow answer says to add configure functions worker defaults to your program CS file, but it's not accepted, so I don't know. Just a shot.
What does it say? Sorry?
It says to add to your program CS file the build up, this fluent build up to add to this configure functions worker defaults.
Der soll Deutsch sprechen. Ja, finde ich auch.
Yeah, but again, the answer is not accepted, so.
So.
Just a shot in the dark.
Yeah. The funny thing is that when this event started, I deleted the resource group that I was testing. Everything was okay. And it was obviously very okay. Validation passed. Let's create that in an additional resource. This is created. Let's see. Does that change anything? Check that. Is it not the correct URL? What? I think I know what I messed up. Obviously, we have the same problem. I have currently no idea.
Yeah, there is an open GitHub issue for this as well. And it also mentions this configure functions worker defaults method. And the GitHub issue is still open.
So you mean there is no answer? What? Cannot find load.
Yeah, it may be stale as well. It's from 2021, but it shows the same error message you get. It's a timeout error with this language something not starting, right?
Yeah, this is it. This is the error message.
Yeah, that's the retry. Yeah, I don't know.
But I'm also puzzled about that bad image format. Maybe the build wasn't. So what about if I try to publish it from here? Yeah, of course it sees the publishment that made GitHub, but let's try to create a new one. It's Azure Function, and then I can safely blame. Is it? Yeah, it's done. Safely blame GitHub for the yesterday's last changes. Publish generate CICD using GitHub Actions. No. Okay, ready to publish, and now let's publish it again. Unix.NET Web App. Yeah. Let's see what's the opinion here. Done. Not very convincing, but should have started. I guess it's exactly the same time as worker started retrieval. I honestly can't understand right now. What I can do is delete that completely. That will be the last effort, and try to redeploy. Because I can't remember any change. Anything in infrastructure. Minor cleanup. That doesn't look very nice. Host builder, var builder, description. Okay, that is indeed minor. Database and container names, whatever.
Well,
nothing special. Was it deleted? Okay, let's try to redeploy once more. Let's go. No, sorry, let's go here. Oops. This group is US location. Correct. Okay. And let's go back here.
So,
Nothing. So it doesn't seem that something changed besides the initial commit that everything was working. Let's just check the uploads. Maybe I made changes here. Oh, version update. Ah, that I don't like. This I don't like. The previous was 1.6.1.7, and you know what? I will revert this change. I will revert this change and redeploy because it has never been tested, and I just made it, and it's very silly of me. How can I do now this? This is a commit. And let's go back, or that is the proper commit. Let's try to deploy that. Can I? Can I deploy specific commits here?
Yeah.
Target.
oh no, it's okay. Yeah.
I think that's the fault. That's the only thing that I see as changes. Oh my God. I can do it here on my PC. It will be faster. Let's bring that. Let's bring that here. Let's bring that here.
One is it current to keywords?
And let's see. The function app. We change to one. The identity change. I need to go through these changes to see what is that important here that it stopped. And this Stack Overflow issue that you found, is that a new one or an old one?
Were you talking to me?
I don't know. Yeah, probably you said that you found a GitHub issue that it's still open, didn't you?
Yes, it had nothing to do with worker version specifically, but they did change something in the worker that made some people's issues go away, but that happened long before version 1.8.
So it's not a new thing.
It could be any of the updates. Reverting the commit, sure.
Yeah. I'm exactly doing that now. I don't wanna.
If I had to guess, I would say it's the worker, but this is just a blind guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I will just recommit everything now. I can only imagine that something changed there because this is the only meaningful change that could cause that somehow since yesterday.
Yeah, it's a big change as
331.
well.
Yeah. And it's silly of me. I just changed it and never tested that it will work. Clean solution. Rebuild. And I will push that and let's see if that solves the problem or not. Go back here. This is done, this is done. This is not going to happen. This is done, this is done. Okay, so at least we have redeployed our function up with the proper settings here. See that it still doesn't isolate it. Okay, so let's go here. I think we need to get the profile again, unfortunately, because I will delete that. To get the settings here. And also do it from within Visual Studio. Let's put that here. This in Visual Studio to be faster. New Azure, next function. This one, yes, publish, finish, close, and publish. And let's see now if that solved the problem somehow. Function app is ready. Just have to wait a minute. Yes. And now the big test. That's good news. Let's go to the logs where we I mean, it's just getting worse and worse. Sorry. You are now connected. You're a bit late, but again the same.
Can we look at the program CS just for fun?
Sure. What should we look here?
Because the suggestion on GitHub and Stack Overflow is to add to the host builder stuff. Oh no, it's already there. This configure function
This one.
Yeah, it's already there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I would very much like if it's not there. I will push the change because there is a chance when you're downgrading, it still sees the news version because you are downgraded, but the NuGet has the newer version. Sorry, what did I? No, that one. So I will try to push everything and try to deploy from the. What's that? Just that's it's enough. Commit all and push. use and push whatever. Because there is a chance it deployed the same thing. So I will try to do that. And now, since did any action started? Oh my God.
And I don't. No more than 60. I've moved her into.
Because that's fine.
Oh, I want to finish up as well. I will take the APAC again, because I think let's start immediately. So the 17th portion will cover it.
Unfortunately, we also need to go here and see. Oh, sorry, the secrets here. And let's find that secret that I downloaded. Hope it's a new one. There is nothing new one right now. And with Notepad, get that from here, update. Now it comes here, it's here, and the name is that one.
Oh, it's all the love today.
That is so strange for me that it's a .NET 6. How can it be an incorrect format?
Bitness.
Sorry?
Bitness.
Yeah. I mean, that's so strange. So, is this deploying?
Okay.
That's the last thing we're gonna check, and then I will have to revisit everything, because right now this is one and this is the other. From one hand, it seems that this is like it's not a .NET isolated. Is there a chance? And the other, this is that cannot start .NET isolated. That's what's confusing me. Start current
Can
runtime
we look at
documentation.
DLL with .peak or something?
I don't know if I will understand if it is.
No, I mean just check the obvious properties.
Yeah, we can do that. So I can load. for one. Not for one. It's not the correct one. This one. Overwrite it. Yes. And it's basically, let's open it. Oh, secret actions.
Well, I mean, we can ask, you know, Alex to go to that on its real management. Then why would we do that? Let's.
Let's just Google that thing. You can Google.
Okay. Well, I can, so I won't look at this until tomorrow. Take the ones that you need to. And then. Where is it? And see. Okay. Well, I think that I want you to feel like, you know, you should feel how you feel about today, that it was a disaster. And, you know, this is how these things go, and this is a lot of life. So I think that it's good for you to get exposed.
Oops.
That's true, and I'm glad you have that perspective. You can have it tomorrow, let you know, feel like it feels today. But I really don't think that it was bad. So, and you know, I think that it's good for Glenn to be. I'll check one. How does he feel? You know, and I just
No.
Good luck. I need to leave.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Because my wife will be very happy with this today's meetups. The time it lasted. Sorry for this, but I will search and then I will share the solution. When it's done, I will add an update to the video. So,
Thank you.
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, George.
I'm not saying bye, everyone.
much to me. You know, you just don't think. But it's one of those things where I think it's important. It's just it's I don't know what I everyone has it. And their house might not be out. But they're just once like, well, this is what you should do. You know, you should like on the bar. You used to they used to work at. It was like you know, this is what you know you should do. And it's like, you know, you should put it in, or you know what you should do is you should have more minutes, or you know what you should do. I had a dog every time.
You did it, huh? I just can't understand now. Where did I make this